So I am outside of my office where I miraculously walked out and left my keys sitting on my work table. So I wanted to make sure, though, that we had an opportunity to connect, Alex. So here we are. We're using the phone because apparently my phone and BeLive don't agree tonight. So we're going to go through Zoom. And Peter V with Sun Life Tech has graciously intervened to make sure that we're streaming on Facebook, and all of the links through all of the different social media platforms are getting updated right now. So that is awesome. And Alex Steiger, oh my gosh. So you sent me the most amazing bio, and I will be honest with you. If I pull it up, because the printed copy is sitting in my office, if I pull it up, I will lose my audio with Zoom on my phone. So here's what I know about you. You are with Coleman Insurance Agency.
Yep.
You have a fabulous, absolutely fabulous relationship with your wife that I adore. You guys work really well together, and you've already been able to help a number of folks that I am connected with. So that is just amazing to me. What I'd like to know is, how did you get here to, the greater Tampa Bay, the Clearwater, Pinellas County area? What brought you here?
Sure. Well, thank you for asking. That's a good question. So, long story short, I can give you hours and hours and just, story upon story of why we're here. But my mom and dad had actually been looking for a vacation property about 20 years ago. And they ended up actually finding a condo in Innisbrook, which is just down the road here in Palm Harbor. And so that's kind of how the whole family kind of got to this, general area. My wife and I, we've been married for a little over 7 years. And, it's just trying to plan what we were wanting to do down the road. So we were thinking, oh, let's buy a vacation property in Florida. And so her parents were with us actually at our home for many, many years. Their health's been pretty challenged. We obviously, of course, do what we can and do what we will for family, because that's what we're supposed to do. And so, long story short, again, we moved here. My in-laws actually have their own home in Palm Harbor. My mom and dad have their own home in Palm Harbor, just a mile the other direction. And that's kind of the gist of it. But this specific area is just such a really nice area. It's very much kind of like how our old community was. A lot of friendly faces, a lot of friendly people, great school district. Again, in the area, a lot of great school districts around, and just really enjoy Florida. Been having a lot of fun here. So mainly the answer, I guess, is really just a family draw.
Absolutely. You and I share that, I guess. That's how I ended up back down here in Florida. It's all about family.
Yeah, we've talked about that. Yep.
Yeah, it drives every decision that we make, is how does this impact the family,
Yep.
and how can we be the most supportive as possible, right?
Yep.
So that is
Absolutely.
really, really amazing. So
Absolutely.
can you tell me, how did you get into insurance? Because I know we've spoken a little bit before, and I know that this isn't necessarily where you started. So
Right.
what got you here?
Good. Another great question. It's kind of a long story. Again, I have lots of those, but more or less, I was wanting a career where I could be a consultant, where I could try to really, really look out for people's best interest. I had been in the automotive industry for like 13 years, and I had done the whole spectrum of automotive. I had helped in like automotive consultants, so basically a salesperson in automotive industry. I'd also been, assistant manager. I'd been manager of a couple of different stores again. So that was really kind of what I had done for a long, long time. I've always been a car nut. My wife and my daughter can also attest to that, cars have always been a passion, but it was one of those things where the car biz, is a very lengthy hours kind of job, kept me away from my family a lot. And I really wanted to get into a new career field that, again, I would be able to be a very, consultant oriented, helping people find something that's going to be a best fit for their situation. And at the same time, this also allowed me to have a little bit more family time with my wife, daughter in the evenings. I do have some weekends now, which before that was an unknown thing in my world. I didn't know what a weekend was because I was always working on Saturdays and or Sundays. I had a day off sometimes during the week, but very often it was never a day off. I was a pretty busy guy. And, in the Midwest, around the St. Louis, Missouri area, we were on the Illinois side of the river. That's where I had lived up until a year and a half ago. And I'm 38, going to be 39 later this year. 37 years in the Midwest, and this Florida lifestyle has really been rewarding and really put a smile on our face every day. The weather's lovely. We're so close to the ocean, which has always been a big draw for myself, my wife, my daughter. It was just an awesome opportunity for me in the insurance world because I could still really be helpful for people at the same time. It was a rewarding job for me as well, in that I had a little bit more time for family and, again, still here in Florida.
Love it. I
Yeah,
absolutely love it. It's just
yeah.
combining all of the goodness and
Try to.
keeping this family goals on track while helping so many other families.
Trying to,
So,
yep.
um, what type of insurance does Coleman Agency uh, help with? Right?
Sure. So
What can? Yeah.
So Coleman Insurance Agency, we're a firm that's been around in the area quite a long time. My bosses, Chris and Dave Coleman, had both been in insurance for literally decades between the two of them. And this is actually an agency here local in Palm Harbor. We're just off the East Lake. We're just about a mile north of Tampa, where basically McMullen turns into East Lake right there in Palm Harbor. And we have a big office where we have obviously insurance taken care of for personal lines, which personal lines generic term is homeowners insurance, auto insurance, flood insurance. If you need an umbrella policy, those are different things that the personal lines department takes care of. Coleman Insurance also has a full commercial department as well that takes care of all kinds of insurance needs from, commercial business insurance, general liability insurance for multiple different types of businesses. They even take care of condo association insurance. I mean, literally, Coleman can do just about anything, though we have not gotten into insurance dealing with health insurance or life insurance. Now, those are two things that we do not do, but I know we've got a great group in our Crush network. And of course, if I ever have anybody call me, we've got someone we can contact and Crush for those specific needs.
Oh,
That's,
absolutely. That is for sure.
that's kind of the basic genre of what Coleman does. They're very,
Okay.
thorough. We have multiple different agents and service agents in the personal lines and the commercial department to help everybody as, again, quickly as possible on a daily basis. You'll always get somebody answering the phone.
Okay. All right. So
Did that
let's
kind of
say
did that kind of answer your question a little bit, Rebecca?
it does. It really
Okay.
lets me know. I mean, essentially, if it's not health or if it's not life, I know that I can call you and
Yep.
you can help me with insurance.
Yes, I
So
can.
my business insurance, my home insurance, my auto insurance, all of that.
Absolutely.
So, okay, that is fabulous. Now, I saw somebody post on Facebook that, and I don't know. I mean, I didn't fact check this. So, if
Sure.
it's not accurate and somebody was just making a bogus post, then, forgive me. But they
No
made
problem.
this post on Facebook that they had received a a refund, a discount, some sort of like benefit as the way of this other insurance agency, kind of splitting the difference with them during the COVID-19 situation.
Yeah.
And then their renewal date is coming up within, a month. And so right after they did that, then they get this renewal notice and their insurance is going to go up $180 a month, the following term, which is greater than the concession that they gave them as this hardship concession. So what I
Yes.
want to know is, what can you do to help me if my insurance costs go up? If I get one of those notices that say, hey, by the way, we're going to, raise your insurance some crazy amount. How would you help me with that?
Sure. No, another great question. Thank you. So it's kind of an unprecedented time across the board for really everyone and any real aspect of life and business. But basically, with the COVID-19 relief, I know just about every insurance carrier has been doing some sort of a rebate because, of course, everyone's for the most part, been staying home if they're not an essential employee or an essential, job. They're staying home. They're not driving as much. And so, with as tough and as much hardship as everyone endured during this COVID-19, crisis, basically, the discounts usually with carriers are 15 or 20%. Again, that was kind of doled out by each individual carrier. Like I'm with Metropolitan, which is one of the companies that we work with. That's who I have my auto insurance with, but I have yet to see my refund come. I've also helped some people over the last month or so see their refunds. The challenge is when you get that renewal, like you're asking about, in about 90% of the cases, that concession that you had for that month or 2 months of not having to maybe necessarily pay your premium or whatever it was, a lot of the time that's then due when that term is complete. Now, that makes it really tough for people that haven't had income for a couple of months. And what I have been doing for clients is contacting each, individual insurance carrier, whether it be, Metropolitan or Travelers Insurance or Safeco Insurance or Progressive. Those are all companies that we have the ability of writing insurance with. And so again, I don't want to get too, long into this, but the premium when it rises that next term, Coleman's got a couple of ways that we can really help our clients by basically having noticed that that premium is going to increase for the next term. Now, this is maybe taking away from the COVID, so kind of putting COVID-19 relief and challenges aside, Coleman Insurance has really spent some time, done their due diligence to come up with a lot of different things that help our clients. One of which specifically is our program that watches renewals. So say you have a 6-month auto policy, and then that next 6-month policy, the premium goes up, say 25%. We have programs in our office that literally, if you have an increase of, I believe it's set at either 11.5 or 12%. If there's an increase of more than 12% for that next either 6-month or 12-month term, we actually get a notification about the same time that that renewal notice would have gone out to the insured. And so basically, like you were saying, your insurance goes up for the next 6-month or 12-month term. We would have known about that ahead of time, and either myself, the agent, or one of our customer service representatives would have either emailed and or called you to let you know, hey, Rebecca, you've got your insurance renewal coming up in 45 days, and the new premium is actually going up about 30%. And so what we're going to do on your behalf is quote that with all the different companies that we work with for you, so we can see if there are any better alternatives right now to replace your current insurance covers with that has increased a bunch in price. Does that kind of explain what you were asking more or less, Rebecca? Or
Yes, it does. That is
cool.
actually perfect because then I know that if I see something like that happening, then I know I can call you and I can say, hey, what's going on here?
Yep.
And you,
And
you can give me some options.
exactly. And literally that happens every day. I mean, that is not something that is, out of the ordinary. Insurance cost, of course, does increase yearly, but you don't necessarily see those big increases often. You'll have a little bit of an increase. Like for instance, my auto insurance, I pay with Metropolitan, and that is actually a 12-month policy. My premium went up like $40 from last year's premium, which is not a big increase. I don't know that that increase of premium would have really kind of triggered the system. But even when that happens, if I get a call from one of my clients or a friend or a Crush Network group member or whatever, I'll always look into it just to see if there's any better options or better alternatives to potentially replace that coverage with. And if not, I just am honest and say, hey guys, this is still the best that we have available, and let's move forward.
Oh, I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
So I have some questions that.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
All right. So if I don't own a car, let's just pretend that I don't own a vehicle. Do
Sure.
I need to have auto insurance?
If you don't own a vehicle, are you driving any other vehicles at all? Do you have a friend or a family member, or do you have another vehicle perhaps that's a business use vehicle or anything like that? Or are you just using public transportation?
Right. So I mean, yeah, I might drive a family member's car or a friend's car or something like that. So
Sure.
in that case, would I need insurance even though I don't own a car?
It's actually a very interesting question, because there are certain types of policies that actually look out for people that are not actual vehicle owners. And there are specific policies that you can put into place for that person who does not necessarily own a vehicle, but still wants to be obviously insured and protected under obviously their insurance. Of course, with Florida, it's a personal injury protection state. So you've got your PIP, which is how everybody kind of knows that terminology. So your personal injury protection. And then, of course, you're going to have some sort of liability with that policy as well that's going to look out for you. So, I mean, to answer your question, it's better to have the insurance, yes, I think, rather than not have the insurance if you are driving a vehicle. Because if you have a friend that loans you a car and you've been given permission to drive their vehicle, you're really technically covered under their policy, because they've given you the keys to their car and they've said, hey, yes, you can drive my car. Now, depending on how their personal protection is set up, that sometimes will or will not necessarily protect you fully. And so it's a situation that you'd probably want to go ahead and look into further as far as how much you're going to be using a vehicle. And of course, contact me or contact your agent, and be more than happy to go through figuring all those details out for you.
Well, all right. Well, that is good to know. Definitely don't want anybody driving anywhere then without insurance. That's what I hear.
Probably a better idea in Florida to have the insurance. Yes.
Okay. All right. So then let's step away from auto insurance for a moment
Sure.
and look at homeowners insurance.
Yeah.
So how do I know how much homeowners insurance, or even renters, I guess, do I need? How do I figure that out?
That's really kind of a tough question too, but it's a little bit easier than the auto question just because that's more definitive. If you're renting a property, what you want to think about with a renter's policy is what that's really covering. That's covering personal liability protection for yourself and obviously any family members that are in the residence with you. So personal injury, basically, you've got that liability coverage of either $100,000 or $300,000, however the policy is set up and however you decide as the insured and the agent, of course, to work that out together. But with the liability coverage of a renter's policy, if you have a guest that's either invited or uninvited, literally in your property, they fall and hurt themselves, that renter's policy is going to give you the liability coverage in case they try to come after you with some sort of a lawsuit if they've been injured, if they've hurt themselves. That's going to provide coverage for obviously those situations. On top of that, what else is also included with renter's insurance is your contents or your personal property coverage. And with a renter's policy, a lot of the ones I write are usually somewhere in that $20,000 or $30,000 of contents or personal property coverage range. So that's going to be more or less, a lot of people ask, well, how do I figure out what do I have in contents? What you got to think about, it's kind of a fun way to do it too. You literally think about it as you take your home, you turn it upside down, and whatever falls out on the ground after you shake it out, that's your contents. So if that was your televisions, your laptop, your clothes, your furnishings, all of those things have kind of, basically added together to be your personal property and or contents coverage. So that's kind of what you want to look for with a renter's policy. With a homeowner's policy, it's a little different, but again, with the contents and the liability coverage, very similar. However much you think you want to have. With homeowners, the traditional kind of standard was 300. It's now more along the lines of about $500,000. Again, because Florida is a relatively litigious state, it's better to be more protected than not have enough insurance if and when something were to happen. And the funny thing is the difference between, $100,000 in liability coverage compared to 300 or 500, it might be $30 or $40 a year. So it's very inexpensive when you think about it in the grand scheme of things. And as far as the homeowner's policy, looking at what you're covering your actual structure, the dwelling, that's the big number that you see with your insurance policies, basically, that like if you have a homeowner's policy and you have, $250,000 in coverage for your dwelling, say, that is going to be the structure, what's inside the structure, what's outside the structure, obviously all of those things that are attached. You have other structures, of course, on your property. That's going to fall under, funny enough, other structures coverage. And of course, those are going to be if you have like a detached garage, a shed, a big fancy fence that you just spent a bunch of money on, something like that. Those are going to be other structures because they're not attached to the actual dwelling, the dwelling being the house or, whatever it may be, house, mansion, castle, who knows. But yeah, that's more or less what you want to try to do. And how I calculate that is, again, Coleman Insurance has not spared many dollars when it comes to our technology. And so we have several different programs that we have the availability of using, again, with the relationships we develop with the insurance companies that we write insurance with. What we do is we do a replacement cost estimation. What that really is what it's going to cost to rebuild that dwelling, again, that home that you're living in. And that is more or less how I go about quoting every new property that I obviously have the opportunity to potentially work with a new client on. Do a replacement cost estimator, and from there, then I input all that information into our couple of different quoting systems, and then I run the programs and see what comes out the best. So that kind of more or less, I think, answers the majority of that. Did that kind of answer that for you, Rebecca, more or less? Oh, I'm sorry, you're actually muted right now.
Oh, that's okay. I apologize. Yes, that absolutely helped. It was fabulous. I really
Cool.
appreciate that.
Cool, no problem at all.
So some of this, I understand it when you're talking about it, but I don't know that it's really going to sink in. And when I'm sitting and looking at, what I need in my insurance coverage, that it's really going to come back up and I'm going to say, oh, wow, yeah, that's right. That's exactly what I needed.
Sure.
How do I get in touch with you?
There's a couple of good ways. Obviously, I'm in my office Monday through Friday. My office telephone number is 727-239-4971. It's probably easiest if you wanted. Email, of course, is great for me as well. My email is easy. It's alex@coleman.agencyfl.com. So that's COLEMAN, Coleman, agency, AGENCY, and then, of course, our great state of Florida, FL.com. That would be a pretty easy way to get a hold of me. Our Facebook page, of course, is out there as well. And if you send a message through Facebook asking for Alex, I'm the only Alex with Coleman Insurance, so that's easy to get to me, of course. Beyond that, that's probably the easiest way.
Well, that is absolutely fabulous. I really appreciate all of the time that you've spent with me tonight and
Absolutely.
all of the answers that you have provided. It's been really good.
Thanks, Rebecca. Thanks
So,
for hosting and taking your time as well to do this.
no, absolutely, absolutely. I have one more question I need to
Sure,
ask,
of course.
um, and that is how often. Right now, I know how often I go and get my checkup. I know how often I go and get my teeth cleaned, but how
Sure.
often should I get new insurance quotes?
That's a really good question. That was actually going to be something I was going to touch on earlier. So, again, there are a lot of clients I talk to out there in the world that have not had their insurance reviewed for, I mean, years, if not even maybe even a decade or longer in some situations. That's too long because what you need to worry about with getting your insurance, what I like to call is more of an encapsulating like total insurance review. That's looking at if you have a homeowner's policy or if you have a condo owner's policy or if you have a renter's policy, basically your homeowner's coverage. You also, of course, are going to have your auto insurance. Those are all things that we, myself at Coleman Insurance, of course, I can take care of looking through and reviewing for you. You want to make sure to kind of do that. I would think every couple of years, if not maybe every year again, if you have, like you were asking earlier, Rebecca, if you have a rate increase, and again, in Florida this last year, there has been some rate increases across the board in both the auto industry, both the auto insurance and also the homeowners insurance genres. But I think every couple, 3 years is pretty good to do. Obviously, we all have lives to live. We're all very busy with work and, of course, our home lives as well. I just so happen to have a work life that is insurance. So, again, I'm happy to help anybody out whenever I can. But I would say every 2 or 3 years is probably a pretty good time span. And again, something that Coleman kind of does that's maybe a little different than a lot of the agencies out there, we try to take on a lot of that responsibility of keeping an eye on your rates and your premium insurance costs because we understand everybody's got a life to live and they don't necessarily want to just pay attention to every little detail, nitty gritty little detail with their insurance. That's the point of those programs that we've spent a lot of money on, to watch out for those rate increases, to hopefully save our clients the time and headache from having to do all of that themselves. So
Well, I love that. Just the customer service aspect, the
mhm.
willingness to kind of keep an eye on things for your consumer, for your client, and give them that little nudge.
Yep.
It's like that reminder that says, hey, Rebecca, it's time to get your teeth cleaned. Hey,
Exactly.
Rebecca,
Exactly.
time to get your insurance checked, I guess.
Yep.
Like,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
yeah, I love it. So we're gonna see you tomorrow morning
Yes, ma'am.
at Fresh, okay? And then not tomorrow morning, but 1 week from tomorrow, you're gonna be sharing some more kind of insider information, so to speak, not like in the bad way of insider information,
Good
but
stuff,
yeah,
people. Good
okay.
stuff.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Well,
That's
good.
fabulous. Will you do me a favor and monitor a little bit over the next week or so and just kind of engage with folks who are commenting here and whatnot, just to make sure that we don't miss anything? Because obviously, I don't know insurance. That's not what I do. And I just want to make sure that anybody who comes through with Facebook or any of the other social platforms, YouTube, any of those things, that they're able to get in touch with you and you can give them the wonderful answers and the attention that you're giving us now, and that I know that you've done for other connections that we've already been able to make.
Absolutely. I
That
will
is
definitely
fabulous.
monitor that. And again, anybody that wants to get in touch with me, please feel free to reach out. Again, telephone number 727-239-4971. And then my email, alex@colemanagencyfl.com. And our fun logo at the CIA, of course, Coleman Insurance Agency, is get protected by the CIA. You won't be
Ah,
disappointed.
I love it. I love it. That really caught my attention, with that get protected. I was like, oh, that's so great.
Yep.
It was very, very catchy. So thank you so much. Let's try to do this again because I have more questions. I would
Yeah.
love the answers to. But I don't want to take up too much of your time. I know we had the tech problem at the beginning as well, so I just want to be respectful. I know you've got family to get home with,
As do
and
you, of course, I know. So no
yeah,
problem. No, I
I know.
appreciate that. But this was really fun. This was a very fun and engaging and exciting evening. So no, it was my pleasure to be a part of it, and thank you very much for hosting and spending the time doing it.
Absolutely my pleasure. I really appreciate you. I appreciate you being part of Crush Networking and all that we do together. So thank you
Heck
so
yeah.
much.
Heck yeah.